started?
Sure.
Thank you everybody for being here, and congratulations. We did the raffle for joining the Fireside, and what I love about the Fireside is it's an opportunity for us to collaborate but also hear from the experts. And
Yeah, could be right there now.
Yeah, but right next to the fire. I know, we should just put the fire in the middle. We'll just take a video of the fire, so we'll imagine. Exactly, the Yule log. We were talking, the last Fireside that we had was in August for our live one. That was with tax strategy. Maggie came in and did that. David DeArmond has been doing a lot of our Firesides on Zoom. That's been exceptional. They've been great at just really digging into each of our individual businesses and our processes, our key performance, and how can we be a stronger, healthier business. And David's exceptional at evaluating that and having us learn and grow from it, and so we can be successful. And so I love the live. Live's always better. And so I was talking to Ron and Kim, and so they're with Five Rings Financial. As some of you know, that's my part-time gathering the light workers in between healthcare. And so I am part of their agency, and so it's about who you know, love, and trust. And so I think it's really, I don't know what other word is awesome or just amazing that we have Kim as one of our professional members, but also that she does financial services, and this is her husband, Ron Harrison. And so we're just super thankful to have them here. They've been doing this, they'll introduce themselves, but they've been doing this for a little over a decade. So they're a wealth of knowledge, they know what they're doing. And I'm just very honored to be part of what they're doing as well and being able to service our community. So I think what we'll do is we'll do a quick introduction because you may not know everybody in the room.
Sure, yeah.
And so I'll just have you say your name, and you could say your business, you could say your gift, right? We like to say that too, but I think the business would be the most important part of this.
Did you want to just ask, are you a solopreneur? Do you have employees? So we can make sure we answer some questions about your business as well.
Yep. So we'll start with Marty.
I'm Marty Cole, and I'm going to let
They're married.
Okay, right. That's the way it works in our household too.
I'm Michelle Brown Cole, and I am the co-owner with my husband of Talladega Homes. And we have just us. We're the only two employees at this time. Do you need to know what we do?
Yeah, just quickly, as Nikki said, your gift or what?
We do, I'm a Reiki master. We do a lot of Reiki work. We do Reiki with sound bowl work. We do life activations, which is a life-changing treatment for people. We crystal grid homes and buildings. We do all kinds of fun esoteric stuff.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. All right, well, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Next.
I am David DeArmond. I'm Shrix Technology Group. We do manage IT departments and cybersecurity for businesses. And we have 7 employees right now. We're vacillating between 7 and 8 over the last couple of months.
Another 8.
Back and forth. So we'll be at 8 again here soon, and I can't wait to be back at that.
Great. All right, thank you.
I'm Matthew Crowfoot. There's no one that will finish that for me, so I'm a solo entrepreneur, and I have a healing business and a technical business. So the technical business mostly goes. My gifts are helping people feel safe, probably more on the healing side, and then on the technical side, explaining things to people, like especially like business and tech concepts to people in ways that they can't get.
That's great. Thanks, Pat.
That is a really good description in there.
That's so broad, right?
Really do that.
I've actually had people tell me that too.
Yeah.
It's really weird. Thank you. Yeah, that's kind of more of a grounded presence thing that I've worked on a lot.
Yeah. That was great. Next.
I'm Marissa. I work underneath Dr. John Norman, so there's him and then 3 of us girls that are technicians doing microcurrent neurofeedback.
I'm Dr. Dana Mockenhop. I own Inspire Natural Medicine, which is a PLLC. I am the sole owner and employee.
The person.
I'm the hat.
The business. All right, well, thank you very much. Would you like something to write on? Clipboard or?
Yeah, we have to take notes.
Yeah, if you want.
Clipboard. And remember, this is a Fireside Chat, so this is where we
Yeah.
can collaborate.
Oh, okay, so.
Have some information, so as Ron, don't hesitate to ask questions, as Ron is sharing his wisdom.
Yeah. You have one of every color.
I can't promise you they'll work. I think I'll make it work.
Well, as we start talking about some things, first introduce myself, Ron Harrison, my wife Kim. Many of you have met Kim, known her for a while. We were in public education for a long time. I was a 20-year teacher, and we did some work from charter schools and private schools and things like that. But we always had an entrepreneurial bent, so to speak. We always wanted to have something on the side. So we did a lot of educational services. So even though we were in the classroom, we did a lot of outreach for communities, particularly a lot of rural Colorado communities. We did a lot of technology work and training and things like that. So we weren't like the typical educators. And then just over the years, we got further away from traditional education and then started doing more and more of our stuff. But the nice thing is that we, just like all of you, we still educate people. Isn't that the great thing about, whatever we choose to do, we still educate? Because if you lead with education, people find a lot more value in what you're offering them with the stuff that you do. Here's why we have to do this kind of a treatment or whatever it is. You educate them first, and then they're going to be more on board with what you're going to do. But the thing that we found as we started, I think we started our first business maybe about 25 years ago or something, is that we're always busy with the business. We're the face of the business. We're getting the business going, finding resources, networking, those sorts of things. But sometimes we forget about the long-term outlook of what we need to do for our business. And specifically, if you're in a job, your 8-to-5 typical job, of course you have some sort of a retirement or you have something in line that's going to help you later in life. Well, as we start running our own businesses, sometimes we put that on the back burner. And I've had many people, I'll say, well, what is your plan for 10, 15, 20 years from now when you maybe no longer want to do what you're doing? Well, I'll just sell my practice. Well, sometimes that is a huge challenge, depending on what you're doing, obviously, because just as we talked here, you are the practice. There's nothing tangible that you can even sell, the value in that. So one of the things, about 12 years ago, Kim and I got involved with Five Rings Financial, and one of the things that we do is just help people protect and then grow all those assets that they have, whether it's their business assets or their personal assets and things like that. And what I want to do today is maybe just answer some questions about possibilities of how you can be certain of 5 years from now, 10 years from now, or 15 years from now, particularly on the financial side. What have we seen happen since 2008? And actually go back to 2002, right? What happened in 2001, 2002, and 2003? People lost 70% of their value in their stock-based assets or whatever it happened to be. And then, of course, 2007 comes around, we're going like this to 2007, and then what happened in 2008? The bottom fell out again, and that was something, that was the housing industry. So that was an industry that is highly regulated, and supposedly, the mortgage industry, and supposedly secure. We would think that that's secure. And then all of a sudden they started doing these things that weren't the right things to do. And then we had 2008 happen. And we recovered from all of that. Pardon? Yeah, there you go. You know, I talk to people about that. I said, where's your money? Oh, it's in securities. And I said, you mean insecurities or insecurities, right? Yeah, you're exactly right. Isn't that a misnomer for your financial future? Securities, right? But you know, then we're going like this. Our money's growing and everything, and then of course 2007 there was a little bit of a hiccup there, but really over the last 10 years have been pretty solid. But the one thing that people don't realize, 2022, even you know, through pandemic and all that stuff, 2022, like the S&P 500 lost 19%. I mean, that's really hard to come back from something like that. Now, most people, or you know, your money, you know, might be in, you know, in plans that they're not going to take the big hit. That would be if you're spread out in the S&P 500. But even the Dow Industrials lost 8% over the course of that year. And the thing that happens when you lose that value, it takes a lot longer to come back from a loss than it does for that loss to happen. So we had the 19% loss. I think right now the S&P 500 is probably up about 9% over last year. Well, if we end up that way, so really we're looking at 2.5 years, or 2 years at least, that you're even going to get back to level if you're spread out in that type of a thing. So, you know, the challenges are there. And when we talk with people about, you know, what their biggest concern is about their money, is that nobody wants to have to make up for loss, particularly if you have fewer work years like I do. I mean, you know, if I have a 2022 happening again with my money, we're probably working into our 80s when, you know, trying to make up for that loss. So I just want to talk about a few things, and I've got a handout here we'll pass out and we'll talk about a little bit, that just to kind of get in the forefront of your mind, whether it's you or people you know about, you say, hey, let's maybe think of a little bit more planning. And it's all, you know, along the line of, you're talking about the safety and all of that, you know, making people feel safe, you know, with their finances, just like we're safe with the other things we do. And Nikki, I think she talked about financial wellness. You know, sometimes there is so much wellness that we do physically and all of that, but sometimes our financial wellness gets put on that back burner. So I want to just hand this out and just talk about a few things in case. Oh, yeah, sorry about that.
This is our apartment complex. Do you want to introduce yourself?
She's our hostess.
Yeah, I'm Dana Long, and I work with Ron and Cam as their assistant, and I'm keeping an eye on the door, so that's my odd position here.
She's our hostess for tonight, but Dana also, she helps people with, she edits books and things like that. Yeah. So the theme of what Kim and I want to talk about tonight was the peace of mind for your small business. And if you think about it, we're always, maybe not always worried about things, but we have, you know, so many irons in the fire that sometimes that financial piece gets put on the back burner, as I said earlier. And when, you know, we talk about assets, you know, we are the asset for our businesses. And getting some of that protection in place is really important. But, you know, you've seen like the what ifs in life. I mean, we never know what tomorrow is going to bring. I was just talking with somebody last week, a small business owner, and, you know, things going along, and then one of those bad life events happen. And he said, I really don't know how my business is going to keep going without me. So that's why Kim asked, you know, whether you're a solopreneur or a partnership or whatever it happens to be, really important to think about those types of things. So, you know, many of you have seen the statistics. You know, 90% of small businesses go out of business when something bad happens to the main person, right? Because they have the knowledge, they have all the skills, the education, they've built up the network, and then when they go away for a short or even, you know, a longer period of time, then you have the bankruptcy coming in there. And so I just wanted to put some things in your mind to think about what what might you want to get in place? What might you want to at least get some information on that could maybe give you a more peaceful night's sleep, so to speak, rather than just worrying about the what ifs in life. And yeah, who has a challenge with that? And whether it's your business or the long-term part of it. Yeah, so I mean, we all worry about those types of things. How about if you can't do what you do today, if you can't do that tomorrow, what types of challenges would that provide for a person? Anybody want to share that?
Move back in with my mom.
Pardon? Move back in with your mom? Yeah, she invite you with open arms, right? Yeah. I knew it wouldn't happen. Yeah. Dana, you go out and you collect your herbs and things like that. I mean, what a challenge would that be if you couldn't get out to do that kind of stuff?
I would be a very sad human and avoid my business.
Right.
You're right, like there's no one that can replace that. Like I can't just be like, oh yeah, go to that one hill and find that one plant. And ask it if it's okay to go home with you.
Right, it's so much different, than if we have a manufacturing company or a warehouse or something where, those types of people are replaceable, right? But a lot of the things that we do are irreplaceable. So the one thing I have, like the middle paragraph there, it talks about like your CPA and accountant. Like we have a very good CPA, and she helps us out with those, monthly, those annual types of financial decisions, but typically doesn't really help us with the long-term planning of our finances. And then, if we have our personal financial advisor, your stock guy, stock gal, whatever you might want to call that, well, they're looking more of what your money is going to do over the long term and helping you in the short term for things like that. But you think about both of those things are focused on where your money is, where your money can go. But most of us don't have anybody to talk to about the in-between, those 10, 15, or 20 years. How are you going to get from this place to what your financial advisor has in place for you? So that's where Kim and I come in, and we work with people that want to have maybe a better grasp of what the possibilities are and be ready for certain things that could happen. So if you think about the questions down below, if if you can't work, is your business at risk? Well, solopreneur type people, for sure that's it, right? Because you are the brains of the operation. Does anybody have like an example of someone that has maybe had something like that happen? They were going along and then, all of a sudden something bad happened and their business could no longer go without them? Anybody have an example of something like that?
The first company that I worked for coming out of college, I was their IT director for 10 years, and then they became my first client. Worked with them for another 10 years, and the owner passed away. Within 2 years, the business was completely shut down. The wife didn't know what to do. She didn't know how to answer the questions because she wasn't involved with the business. And it really became a mess. It was stressful for the employees. It was stressful for her and her family. So it crashed.
Yeah, for sure. So, what happened probably those 2 years, they essentially lived off of what was in the bank for the most part. Work. The wife, okay, how are we going to make this go? So there was no key person in place that they could rely on to extend that business, right? And so many times it'll default to the spouse. And like you said, no interest in it, or if there is interest, it's just from what the business is doing for them, but not necessarily the day-to-day operations of it. Yeah, that's a great example. Yeah. Anybody else have anything that they've come across or a story they know about, something like that?
We actually had it happen last year. We were all set up to really move our business forward, and I got cancer.
Oh my gosh.
I had uterine cancer. And it was like, well, bummer. So it was like, you know, and I guess I look at it and, well, I'm glad that we weren't up and running and had everything publicized the way we wanted it and all tied up in a neat little bow, because I would have disappointed a lot of people.
You know, that's an interesting way to think about it too. So you're talking a business that was going, a going concern, and then you're just ramping up and ready to do it. And if it would have happened a little bit later, then not that it was worse anyway. It was the worst case possible anyway, or bad.
Very bad stage one. It was kind of cancer-like, but I mean, I was really embracing that. But it definitely wasn't. It was definitely a do not pass go.
Yeah. Sometimes the universe delivers things we don't want also, right? Unfortunately. But then we work through it. Yeah. And things have come, you're back to where you wanted to be or getting there?
I'm getting there.
Yeah.
It's been, for whatever reason, I had never had major surgery in my life, ever. Like I had listened to people.
Right.
And so, over the past year, I've been under the major anesthesia like 4 times.
Oh my gosh.
You know, it takes your brain, I'm telling you, I'm 62. My brain is not recovering as quickly as it used to.
Right.
For these things, so, yeah, you know.
Well, and the stuff that you do, the Reiki and the body knowledge and all of that, the anesthesia, that all goes completely against how our body's supposed to work, right? Yeah. Now, have you come up with, here's what I went through and here's how what I do, how my practice has helped?
Oh, yeah.
Have you found a different way to do that?
Well, you know, Reiki, in general, if someone, now I was fortunate I didn't have to go through chemo or radiation, but for those people who do, Reiki itself actually really helps that situation. I don't know why. And it also, like those people that end up with neuropathy post-cancer, for whatever reason, Reiki helps that. It just opens up the energy meridians. And it's like blowing clear water through you.
Yeah.
You know, and clear water with, you know, healing qualities. And it helped me to have the Reiki and the education that I had the opportunity to enjoy around Reiki and other healing, because I don't know if I'd have managed it mentally as well.
Right.
I think I would have been a train wreck, and it might have taken even longer.
So even though it was a bad...
Back to the starting line.
Yeah. Even though it's a bad situation, you've actually put another arrow in your quiver, so to speak, as far as what you can do for people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
How about your family's future? You know, we all, tie our finances into what it's going to do for our children, grandchildren, or whatever. Just, an example like that, example like you're talking about, they're back to square one, depending on what that family situation was. So always a challenge for sure, when we have our own small business. How diversified is your retirement plan? This is one thing that so many people, they leave it to their financial advisors. Okay, tell me what I should do, without really learning about the possibilities out there. So I would encourage you to kind of think about how your finances can be diversified, in light of the bad years that I talked about earlier. There are ways that you can have money in safe income products that never ever lose a penny in 2008, 2022, or 2003. So sometimes it's really important to say, well, okay, I can stand some risk over here, but I don't want to have any risk over here. It's almost like one of the things that we kind of talk about sometimes. We spend a lot of time in Nevada, and I don't gamble or anything, but we all know how the game of 21 is played, right? Or blackjack, right? So the three things that can happen on any hand in blackjack. And what are those three things that can happen? Well, on any hand, you can lose, right? So the dealer could beat you, you could lose, you could win the hand, or you could push, right? So you have those three things. You also have those three things with your money, right? In any given year. You can make money, you can lose money, or you can stay the same. Well, I would often share with people, talk to your financial person and find out what he has that gets rid of that loss part. Wouldn't it be nice if if your money could only stay the same or go up in any year? Wouldn't that be a great plan for at least part of your money? And those things are out there. And that's one thing that we share with people is that you don't need to have your 100%, riding on black or whatever it happens to be. Take some of that stuff and put it in a safe to where you're not going to have that stuff at risk all the time. So the diversification, how safe is your retirement plan? Same thing, right? How safe are the assets you have in that retirement plan? And speaking of that, what types of plans, being solopreneurs, and maybe you had a previous career or something like that, but what types of plans do you have in place? Or have you thought about or you've learned about that you could put in place for yourself? Anybody want to share something that they've done? Well, right, yeah. We worked with Dana. Yeah, we worked with Dana a little bit on something. Yeah. So actually, what Dana put in place was, when we go through life. Yeah. So what she put in place, exactly right. I'm proud of you, young lady. Right. We're going through life. Right, when one of those bad things happen, whether it's like a cancer diagnosis or a heart attack, stroke, or something like that, what's the first thing that most of us have to do? Because health insurance doesn't do what it's supposed to do, does it? Not for all of us. You've discovered that, right? Well, we first reach into our savings accounts, don't we? And we deplete that savings account. Then where do we reach in? We reach into our retirement accounts, whether it be a 401k or an investment account or whatever. And the one of the bad things about that, the IRS, Uncle Sam doesn't care why you reached into that 401k at 58 years old. They just know that you're going to pay them a penalty. Then, of course, so those two pieces of your asset house, we call them, your savings, retirement, and then, of course, the other part of your asset house is really your house. That's, for a lot of us, that's the second most valuable thing that we have other than our own skills and abilities and knowledge. So then when that stuff happens, you're moving in with mom or whoever it might be. Pardon? Exactly, yeah. So we think about that asset house. There's a thing in the Bible, you build your house on sand or you build your house on rock, right? So having that asset house without that protective piece is building on sand. And what Dana shared with us, the living benefits that we help people with, it gives you a foundation under that house of assets. And just to give you an idea, I have a client in Nevada. She had her own business at home. Her husband actually I coached basketball. He was a basketball player of mine, and I've known her since she was 13 years old. She was a freshman in a high school class that I taught. She's like 40 now, right? Something like that. Anyway, she, just as Dana did, she said, Ron, we want to get this living benefits put into place to protect our business that she was running. She ended up getting stage 3 breast cancer. Had a 7-year-old daughter. The cool thing was, she was able to reach into her living benefits just like Dana has. She was able to reach into that, and she got a giant pile of money out of her living benefits life insurance. Made a huge difference. She was 4 hours from the Huntsman Center in Salt Lake City. That's where her treatment was. So her husband had to take time off work. They had to rent an Airbnb for her 6 weeks of radiation in Salt Lake City to be near the facility. Health insurance doesn't pay all that stuff, so she was fortunate. So as a reminder, young lady, that's what you have in place. You have that foundation of protection in place.
What happened with this lady is that Ron was driving down the road and he got a call from this lady. She said, how do those living benefits work? Because she just went to the doctor and just got the worst diagnosis of her life, right? And she remembered she had this in place. And that, they probably went to their house to see them after settled and she was going to get going to treatment and everything. And we were there for a little while visiting with her. And she's great. She's tough. Like, she's doing really well. She's back
doing well, yeah.
This is up and running. She beat it, but she had that year of hell, you know, you have when you have that treatment. And anyway, she's getting ready for her treatments, and her husband came in the door and he said, shook Ron's hand. He came over to me and gave me the biggest hug, and it was just like he gave all his emotions to me, like, thank you so much for you two being here to have set this up. And unfortunately, we can't do anything about to help people if they do it after they go to that doctor, right? So we're doing what we're doing in the business, and we're doing and helping people not with all types of finance, but this particular thing is why we're here, because Ron was an economics teacher in high school. He mentioned he works with kids in school, but he had all these former students that did not understand what we learned about money in the class that you're going to learn if you stick around for after this. We went through this 12 years ago. He said, I want to take that back to my students. So I wanted to really solidify this story, because if that's the only person we ever helped was Sammy and her husband, who's also his basketball player, we're satisfied with what we've done in our career. We helped one family who really needed it when they needed it. So, you know, we sometimes think, you know, it's like, I don't want to talk about these kind of things. Nobody wants to talk about the bad things that might happen, but they do. We know they do. And somebody has to say something so that then you can decide whether or not you want it. You need to know what it is to know whether or not it's something that makes sense to you. You know? Well, you don't know why Sammy said yes and why her husband decided to, but they did. And it was that thing that helped them through the worst of their lives, right? The worst thing that could happen to them. So I don't want to go off on a big tangent, but that story is so much more powerful to us. As you know, we had no idea, but he wanted to take this to his students, and now everyone's our student, because everyone needs to know about it. And that's really all that matters to us. You know about it, that's the big thing. And then, how does that affect your business? Because you're all business owners. So,
that's right.
I just was like, wait a minute, I really think you should know.
Yeah, one of the neat things with Sammy, she does custom clothing, like hats and embroiders and all those types of things for the schools and such. And she had in her workshop, so she couldn't do that for a while, having double mastectomy, of course. And one of her pieces of equipment was this big press, and she couldn't do that at all. She used some of her money, because you can do that whatever you want. She just got a giant check in her bank account, and she bought an automated system. She just pushed the button and it did that work for her. So it was pretty amazing. So not only did it take care of the health issues and all of that, but it helped her be more productive now in what she does in her business. Yeah, so it was pretty amazing. Yeah.
And that's healing for her. She gets to go back to her craft. She gets to go back to her creativity. Like, that is so much a part of that healing and that journey.
Even for a while, she hired a part-time person to work while she was in the middle of the hard treatment, so she could keep her business going. She was able to pay to have someone come in and do some of that work. So she did lose her business.
Yep.
Did she ever get rid of the pull-down crap, or did she keep it going?
Well, now that's her exercise. You know, she only takes orders of 500 or more because she needs to work on her biceps. Yeah. So, just the last few things here, Ken, your retirement, we talked about that, 2001, 2008, and all of those. Then there's also, we help businesses set up these tax advantage emergency funds. I have a client out in Colorado. He has an auto shop. He has about 8 or 10 employees, makes, $4 or $5 million a year production through his auto shop. But he's sitting on a plan that we did for him. He has nearly $100,000 of completely tax-free money that he can use to upgrade his equipment, whatever he happens to do or wants to do. And the cool thing about that plan that he has is if he takes money out of that plan, he still earns interest on the money he takes out of his plan. So it's an awesome leverage plan. And the challenge with all this stuff is that lots of advisor type people, they're just stuck with, okay, put in the market does this, here's what happens to your money. They really don't look at the options that are out there that can give people so much more flexibility. If he was in a regular plan, like an IRA type plan that he did with his money, he couldn't reach in there at 50 years old and take money to pay for new equipment or hire new employees. But he can do that, and then he's making money off the money that actually borrows from that. So it's really a great leverage plan for small business owners. And then the last thing I have listed here, it talks about life insurance with living benefits. So that's exactly what Sammy had. That's what Dana has. And this is what's called the new type of life insurance. Most of us, when we talk life insurance, what do we think? Somebody goes away, somebody gets a pile of money, right? Well, exactly, but nobody would buy it, but you're exactly right. That's what it's been called for 500 years, right? Well, what living benefits is that you can reach into that face amount for heart attack, stroke, cancer, ALS, kidney failure, major head trauma, many, many, many things. And that's what Sammy did. Yeah, there's an Alzheimer's part of it too. Kim makes me get a new policy each year because it has Alzheimer's protection in it. I think you need to up that, Ron. So, but the living benefits is probably the most important thing that we do, because that is that whole foundational piece. It even helps for like long-term care. Let's say somebody has like a $500,000 policy. You can reach in there and you get $10,000 a month for like disability type insurance for long-term care. So it's just amazing products. So we just share that stuff with people. And then the last thing I have down here for you, just some of the things for us to think about as small business people. Which of these do you have? What might you want to learn more about? And I'm just a phone call away. As we were talking a little bit earlier, I'm here. We have an apartment here, actually just next door over here practically. But so Kim's here a lot. I'm here about 10 days a month. And we just sit down with people and just talk about what we do and how we might be able to help them, not only with the financial part, but also the protective piece. And obviously more than happy to get on Zoom or phone call or something like that.
I think that was one of the things that we talked about. If you're already working with somebody, we can help you ask the right kind of questions too.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we don't know what questions to ask. And if you're working with somebody who's charging you a fee to talk to them, ask them that too. If you can talk to someone like us, you're looking for a house or whatever, you can talk to a lot of realtors, right? They'll talk to you for free. We talk to you for free as well. We give away our information because we want you to have it. We want you to know what makes sense for you. And even just sitting in this room, just hearing knowing a few of you, I know what Dana needs may not be the same thing that David needs. And so it's really important to have that private conversation with somebody where you can feel comfortable, safe, like Matthew said, feel safe, where you can share your financial situation. Some of us don't want other people to know our financial situation. We never talk about specifics in a group like this because, we don't want to. It's uncomfortable. So we give some general stuff like this in these group sessions that we do to help. You'll hear that tonight too. We have, if you want to stay, we hope you choose to stay. We've got Lyle Donnelly, who was our mentor. We've known him for 12 years. He has helped us and guided us. He's here. It's kind of a rare thing. He doesn't come here very often, so he's here to teach the money workshop. Ron and I are also going to be teaching these workshops ongoing this next year live, and we also teach them virtually. And you'll see this is kind of the bread and butter of what we teach. We didn't want to touch on a bunch of that here because we knew that you could also stay for this next little piece and hear that. But we do that just over and over again because the information is so valuable on so many levels, understanding how money works so that you can make some good decisions for your business.
I was going to add something too. A lot of solopreneurs in here, but David and then Harvard, with the upcoming possible requirements in the state of Idaho for retirement plans, in Oregon, Washington, California, and there.
Yep.
This is up and coming, so being prepared where we have these regulations
Yeah, that's a great point. We do a lot of work in Colorado, and Colorado implemented that just this year. So what we were able to do was to get with small businesses. So it's sort of like when, whether you agree with it or not, with when Obamacare came in. When that came in, we ended up being essentially, you're part of a federal program, so to speak. And then there were different options, and it changed and all of that. But what is happening, as Nikki mentioned, is states are starting to say that if you have more than 5 employees with different qualifications, then you have to offer a retirement plan to your employees. Here is the state plan. That's exactly how they're doing it. So that's why I say it's sort of like an Obamacare type of a plan, right? Where, okay, here's what you can do. But the nice thing is, and I don't know about you, I'm not going to take a poll on this, but I don't necessarily want to be in plans that are state run or government run, typically, right? When was the last time they had my best interest at heart? Not very often. I love that. That is awesome. That's a great one. That's a good one. Yeah, that's a great. I appreciate that, Matthew. Thanks. We'll see what Lyle wants to do. Yeah. But anyway, talking about that ahead of time on what a person can do. So we have some like non-IRS based plans, which are also nice, that employees can opt into or whatever person wants to do. No fee type plans too. So yeah, a lot of things rolling out. I'm very glad you mentioned that, Nikki.
Better to be prepared than crisis.
Exactly. Yes, sir.
I'm curious, are there plans that basically protect your employees if you die? So, because the business is probably going to go away.
Well, you could set it up that way. So let's say you're running a business, you have a heart for all your employees. Let's say you have 10 employees, you have a heart for your employees, and so you end up getting the basic part of this, you end up getting a life insurance policy that has stipulations in it that if I go away, all my employees get $20,000 severance. That would be just part of what a person would set up. Or you could even name employees as beneficiaries. Yeah, so there are different options for something like that. But that's the nice thing about, I talked on the living benefits, is that money is your money to do whatever you want to with. So, however that could be distributed out if you chose to do that. It's a great question.
It's okay to just like load up on life insurance and
Yeah, I mean, you could get a person could get a separate life insurance policy with the idea that that's going to go to employees. That's an awesome. I'm going to put that in my plans for talking to people because, I mean, if you have the right type of business, you have a heart for people. Yeah, that's awesome. You have to pay